Welcome to Passion Travel. Explore world street food, captivating vlogs, and inspiring journeys with us. Subscribe to experience adventure in every video. Tarte aux prunes, a plum tart, perfect for a fruity dessert. Here's a simple recipe for Tarte aux prunes, plum tart. Ingredients: 1 sheet of ready-made puff pastry or homemade pastry dough. 500 g fresh plums, pitted and sliced. 1/4 cup granulated sugar. 1 tablespoon all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon. 1 egg, beaten, for egg wash. Powdered sugar, for dusting, optional. Instructions: preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius, 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Roll out the puff pastry or pastry dough on a lightly floured surface to fit into a tart pan or baking sheet. Transfer the pastry to the pan and trim any excess dough hanging over the edges. In a small bowl, mix together the granulated sugar, flour, and ground cinnamon. Arrange the sliced plums evenly over the pastry dough, overlapping slightly. Sprinkle the sugar mixture evenly over the plums. If desired, fold the edges of the pastry slightly over the plums to create a rustic crust. Brush the edges of the pastry with the beaten egg to create a golden brown crust when baked. Place the tart in the preheated oven and bake for 25 to 30 minutes, or until the pastry is golden brown and the plums are tender. Once baked, remove the tart from the oven and allow it to cool slightly. Optionally, dust the tart with powdered sugar before serving. Serve the Tarte aux prunes warm or at room temperature, optionally with a dollop of whipped cream or a scoop of vanilla ice cream on the side. Flan, a custard tart with a caramelized sugar topping. Here's a classic recipe for flan, a delicious custard dessert. Ingredients: 1 cup granulated sugar. 4 cups whole milk. 6 large eggs. 1 teaspoon vanilla extract. Pinch of salt. Instructions: preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius, 350 degrees Fahrenheit. In a heavy-bottomed saucepan, heat the granulated sugar over medium heat, stirring constantly with a wooden spoon until it melts and caramelizes into a golden brown syrup. Once the sugar has caramelized, immediately pour it into the bottom of a 9-inch round cake pan or a flan mold, swirling to coat the bottom evenly. Be careful as the caramel will be very hot. In a separate saucepan, heat the milk over medium heat until it just begins to simmer. Remove from heat and let it cool slightly. In a large mixing bowl, whisk together the eggs, vanilla extract, and salt until well combined. Slowly pour the warm milk into the egg mixture, whisking constantly to avoid curdling the eggs. Strain the custard mixture through a fine mesh sieve into the prepared cake pan or flan mold, over the caramel layer. Place the cake pan or flan mold into a larger baking dish. Fill the larger dish with hot water until it reaches halfway up the sides of the cake pan or flan mold, creating a water bath, bain-marie. Carefully transfer the baking dish to the preheated oven and bake for 45 to 50 minutes, or until the custard is set around the edges, but still slightly jiggly in the center. Remove the flan from the oven and let it cool to room temperature in the water bath. Once cooled, transfer the flan to the refrigerator and chill for at least 4 hours or overnight to allow it to fully set. To serve, run a knife around the edges of the flan to loosen it from the pan. Place a serving plate upside down over the pan and quickly invert to release the flan onto the plate, with the caramel sauce on top. Gratin Dauphinois, a creamy potato gratin baked with cheese and cream. Here's the recipe for Gratin Dauphinois. Ingredients: 2 pounds, about 1 kilogram, of potatoes, peeled and thinly sliced. 2 cups, 480 milliliters, of heavy cream. 2 cloves of garlic, minced. Salt and pepper to taste. 1 cup, about 100 g, of grated Gruyere cheese, optional. Butter for greasing the baking dish. Nutmeg, optional. Instructions: preheat your oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius. Grease a baking dish with butter. In a saucepan, heat the heavy cream and minced garlic over medium heat until it starts to simmer. Remove from heat. Arrange a layer of sliced potatoes in the bottom of the baking dish. Season with salt and pepper. Pour some of the heated cream over the potatoes, ensuring they are evenly covered. Repeat layering potatoes and cream until all the potatoes are used, ensuring the top layer is covered with cream. If desired, sprinkle grated Gruyere cheese over the top layer of potatoes. Optionally, sprinkle a pinch of nutmeg over the top. Cover the baking dish with aluminum foil and bake in the preheated oven for about 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, remove the foil and bake for an additional 15 to 20 minutes, or until the top is golden brown and the potatoes are tender when pierced with a fork. Once done, remove from the oven and let it cool for a few minutes before serving. Crepes, thin pancakes filled with sweet or savory fillings like Nutella, cheese, or ham. Here's a basic recipe for crepes. Ingredients: 1 cup, 125 g, all-purpose flour. 2 large eggs. 1 cup, 240 milliliters, milk. 1/4 cup, 60 milliliters, water. 2 tablespoons melted butter. 1/4 teaspoon salt. 1 tablespoon granulated sugar, optional. Butter or oil for greasing the pan. Instructions. In a large mixing bowl, whisk together the flour, salt, and sugar, if using. Make a well in the center of the dry ingredients and crack the eggs into it. Gradually pour in the milk and water while whisking constantly to form a smooth batter. Stir in the melted butter until well incorporated into the batter. Let the batter rest for about 30 minutes at room temperature. This allows the flour to fully hydrate and results in a smoother batter. Heat a non-stick skillet or crepe pan over medium heat. Add a small amount of butter or oil and swirl to coat the bottom of the pan. Pour a small ladleful of batter into the center of the pan and immediately tilt and rotate the pan to spread the batter thinly and evenly across the bottom. Cook the crepe for about 1 to 2 minutes, until the edges start to lift slightly and the bottom is lightly golden brown. Use a spatula to flip the crepe and cook for another 1 to 2 minutes on the other side, until lightly golden brown. Transfer the cooked crepe to a plate and repeat the process with the remaining batter, greasing the pan as needed. Serve the crepes warm with your favorite toppings such as Nutella, jam, fresh fruit, whipped cream, or savory fillings like ham and cheese. Beignet de Crevettes, deep-fried shrimp fritters, crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Beignet de Crevettes, also known as shrimp beignet, is a delicious French dish. Here's a recipe for you. Ingredients: 1/2 pound, about 225 g, shrimp, peeled, deveined, and chopped. 1 cup, 125 g, all-purpose flour. 1 teaspoon baking powder. 1/2 teaspoon salt. 1/4 teaspoon black pepper. 1/4 teaspoon cayenne pepper, optional, for added heat. 1/2 cup, 120 milliliters, milk. 1 large egg. 2 cloves garlic, minced. 2 green onions, finely chopped. Vegetable oil, for frying. Lemon wedges, for serving. Cocktail sauce or remoulade, for dipping, optional. Instructions. In a large mixing bowl, combine the flour, baking powder, salt, black pepper, and cayenne pepper, if using. In a separate bowl, whisk together the milk and egg until well combined. Gradually pour the milk and egg mixture into the dry ingredients, whisking constantly until a smooth batter forms. Stir in the minced garlic and chopped green onions. Fold in the chopped shrimp until evenly distributed throughout the batter. In a deep skillet or Dutch oven, heat vegetable oil to 350 degrees Fahrenheit 175 degrees Celsius over medium-high heat. Drop spoonfuls of the shrimp batter into the hot oil, being careful not to overcrowd the pan. Fry the shrimp beignet for 2 to 3 minutes, or until golden brown and cooked through, flipping halfway through cooking. Use a slotted spoon to remove the beignet from the oil and transfer them to a plate lined with paper towels to drain excess oil. Repeat the frying process with the remaining batter, adjusting the heat as needed to maintain the oil temperature. Serve the shrimp beignet hot with lemon wedges and your choice of dipping sauce, such as cocktail sauce or remoulade.